Good afternoon, Oak Grove. Happy Thursday. Welcome to this week's installment of our Midweek Update series here on the church's YouTube channel, where I just populate into your device in the middle of the week to say hello and to try to keep the church on our consciousness for the rest of the week outside of Sunday morning that we're not in worship, because that's such an important thing for us to do. So thanks for taking a moment to join me today. And I do say a moment because I am making a conscious effort to try to shorten these videos a little bit. They got way too long for a while. I just want it to be a small part of your day where I can just pop in and say hello. What am I going to talk to you about? Last Saturday afternoon, there's so many things in the world that I could talk about, but I want to talk about something happy and positive today. Last Saturday afternoon, my wife and I attended an event that I had been looking forward to for a couple of months. My home congregation, and yes, officially they are regarded as my home congregation because they are the congregation that I left from before I came to Oak Grove. In my heart, obviously, Oak Grove is my church, but officially, on the church's roster, we name a home congregation that is the one that we came from before we were ordained. So my home congregation, then in that sense, the one that sponsored me to go to seminary, was Christ Lutheran Church in Millvale. They celebrated their 125th anniversary last weekend. They had a banquet dinner on Saturday afternoon, late afternoon, early evening. And then they had a special worship service on Sunday morning. I could not go to the worship service, of course, but Julie and I did go to the dinner on Saturday. And that was a wonderful day where we got to see lots and lots of old faces we had not seen in a while, as well as a few new faces that we didn't recognize, newcomers to Christ Millvale that we didn't recognize that had joined the church just within the last few years. And one of their former pastors was to preach Sunday morning, and it was just a wonderful weekend, and it was a very positive and uplifting thing for them. And at that event, too, by the way, they were selling swag for the event. And so I picked up a 125th anniversary of Christ Lutheran Church t-shirt. And then at the dinner, my aunt-in-law, Julie's aunt, her name is Joyce, who watches the videos every week, she was teasing me and challenging me. I challenge you to wear our shirt on your video for your church next weekend. And I told her, Joyce, I don't have any problem doing that. I don't get competitive about that. She double dog dared me to wear it. So Joyce, this is for you. I wore it, and I'm showing people exactly what it says. I'm not hiding it either. Because I know that the people of Oak Grove are not going to get all upset about that. And that's what I think I want to talk about today. I just want to talk about unity in the church. And I want to talk about individualism versus collectivity, right? Collectivity being a big word referring to, like, do we want to live our lives in isolation, or do we want to live our lives as part of a community? And it manifests itself in the church in the way that sometimes we get defensive and we get territorial. Some churches do. When I say we, I'm talking about the whole church. I'm not talking about Oak Grove. Some churches get territorial and defensive about working with other partners in ministry. And they do that because it's out of a fear that they will lose something of themselves. You know, some churches do not work with ecumenical partners or even partners in their own denomination. And they just keep to themselves and do their own thing, specifically because the fear is, well, if we work with that church down the street, maybe we'll lose members to them. Maybe some of our folks will see that, oh, there's something really appealing about what's going on down the street, and so maybe we'll lose folks down there. I have never observed the people of Oak Grove to be like this, and that pleases me. And I'm pleased to see that our siblings over at Unionville United Methodist are the same way because, they have been our closest ecumenical partner in the area. A lot of churches usually have something called a ministerium, which ministerium means the pastors from a variety of different churches of different denominations will work together on ministry in the area. They'll work together on joint ventures to feed the poor, and they'll work together on things. There isn't much of a ministerium going up here in New Sewickley, or if there is, I haven't been invited to participate in it. I really don't think there is, though. I've been told by a lot of the local pastors that there isn't really a ministerium community exactly, but there are instances of local churches just doing a very good job working together, like we do with Unionville. With the government shutdown and the SNAP benefit suspension and the food scarcity concerns that we have right now, thank God for us, we already have a very strong partner with a thriving food pantry ministry that we can direct people to. And we're grateful that Unionville does that work. And so I don't lose one bit of sleep over the thought that we can promote stuff that Unionville is doing here, and Unionville is happy to promote stuff that we do over there. with the fear that we're going to lose people. Because, you know what? Let's say hypothetically somebody did leave here and go over to Unionville. I don't care. I mean, I would be saddened that they're not here on Sunday mornings. And we tend to focus on attendance numbers and fixate on those as though they're the only metric for success in ministry. But I would just be happy that that person is going to a church where they feel fed, especially if they leave here on good terms and say to me, Pastor, it's nothing to do with you. It's nothing to do with the Lutheran tradition. I just know people over there, and their worship schedule fits my life better, or whatever it is. They have a small group that's appealing to me. I would be glad that that person is just still going to church. And this is something that we also saw at Bishop Stoller's installation a few weeks ago, when not only were there a bunch of ELCA bishops there at her installation over our synod, but there were also bishops there from other Christian traditions. The bishop of the Episcopal Church, Ketlin Solak, I've met her numerous times. She is wonderful. She was there to represent her tradition. Our full communion partners represented themselves there. And so what is my moral for today? Maybe I don't really have one. There doesn't have to be a moral every week. This isn't a sermon. But I guess if there was one, it is to encourage people to consider we are stronger together than we are when we are apart. And sometimes we have to resist the urge to become xenophobes into our own lives, where we don't even participate in a local community for fear that we'll lose something of ourselves if we do. We get territorial about allowing other people into our business and about inviting ourselves to participate in their business. We were created for community. We were created one for another. And the American ethic is about individualism and about self-sufficiency, and there's nothing wrong with that either. So don't accuse me of being a communist. Don't accuse me of being un-American. That is not what I'm trying to say. But what is interesting, though, is that in seminary, I was required, as all seminarians are in the Lutheran Church, to do a short chaplaincy program in a hospital or a nursing home, right? And so I did that program in between my first and second year of seminary, and I did it at the VA hospital in Oakland. And I met hundreds of veterans that summer. I did it for 3 months over the summertime. And it amazed me how many lone wolf Christians I met during that time. I would meet veterans that told me, I'm spiritual, but I'm not religious. I read my Bible at home. I watch televangelist preachers on TV, and I pray every day, but I don't go to a church. Well, when the guy is in the hospital and he's in a bad way, you don't lecture him about that. You don't preach to him about that. So I didn't, But I always thought to myself, that's not how God intended it to be. Yes, we do have a personal relationship with Jesus. Yes, accepting Jesus as your personal Lord and Savior, having an inner walk with Jesus where he's a part of your life and you walk with him every day, yes, that's real. That is a part of discipleship, but that's one half of it. The other half is the collective part. God intended for us to participate in community. God intended for us to participate in church. And God intended for us to do that without getting territorial or defensive about if we work with this other church, will we lose our sense of identity? Or if I go to a church when I've been a lone wolf Christian, will I lose some sense of my own spirituality when I do so? Let me turn that around on you. Maybe the more flattering way to look at it is maybe if we work with another church, maybe some part of Oak Grove rubs off on them and they're enriched by working with us. Doesn't that feel good? And likewise, maybe you have something to bring to your local church if you've never participated in one. So that's a way to turn that around. And so these are just some general thoughts about individualism versus collectivity today. Collectivity is kind of a big word, but both our individual spiritual life and our communal spiritual life are equally important, and they both need tended to, sisters and brothers. So if there's a moral today, it is just, please don't avoid meeting together. We are stronger together than we are apart. As Scripture says, he who falls and is alone has no one to pick him up. And so as Christ Millvale celebrated their 125th anniversary last weekend, that's what I've got for you this week, Oak Grove. I will see you all in worship this Sunday. Remember, we are collecting for Unionville's food pantry this week for Harvest Home rather than last week. I will see you Sunday morning. Take care and God bless.